Welcome to the Best Music Podcast with Dan Spencer, where we talk about music and the methods for making music with top performers in the music industry. This week's featured guest is Kit. Now, Kit has been working with Addictive Music Group, and her first song, Venom, has been featured on Netflix TV in France, and her new song, Yours Truly, is out now everywhere you get your music. You can find Kit on Instagram at K_I_T official. And Kit, thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me, Dan. I appreciate it.
So, Kit, let's start. Can you maybe tell me a little bit about a piece of music or song you've heard in the past couple days that stood out to you?
Just in general,
Yeah.
I've been really digging a lot of Banks lately. I love her song Waiting Game. I think it's really kind of sultry mixed with just a really cool beat. I kind of like the way that she incorporates different types of genres. I really like alt pop, so it came on my shuffle the other day and I was like, ooh, I like this.
And how does the song make you feel? What draws you to it? Is it the musical aspects where you are intellectually interested in what's going on, or is there something emotionally that's hitting you and pulling you in?
Definitely the emotional factor. When I listen to music, I tend to go more emotional. So I'm more drawn to the more deeper, darker, emotional songs as opposed to like California Girls by Katy Perry,
Yeah, that's interesting. When we look at your lyrics and, even Gold was a little lighter than Venom, for example, but there's this feeling of these very real life experiences that you're exploring in your music. Could you talk a little bit about how your life influences your lyrics?
My lyrics are always a way for me to get what I'm feeling out into the world. So if I'm feeling, like off or down or, some big change in my life, instead of trying, to break down or get too in my emotions, I'll try and write about it instead. I feel like it's a really good coping mechanism and it helps me just figure out my own stuff through music.
So instead of having a good cry over a situation that's not going well, you may have a little bit of a cry, but you're gonna sit down and you're gonna channel that emotion onto the page and really express yourself that way and get your catharsis out that way.
Definitely, yeah. And the cool part about my writing process is that generally the courses end up pretty well. Like it usually what the first course is, the first draft, it usually stays that way. Yeah. Yeah. So,
I was talking to the absolute songwriting legend, Jim Peterick, formerly of Survival. He wrote Eye of the Tiger, all that good
awesome.
stuff. And he was talking about taking your chorus, making that your first verse, and then going back and having to write a chorus that tops your chorus because your chorus is now your first. Isn't that wild?
I love
Imagine
that. I'm going to try that. I'm going to try that tonight, probably.
Because if you think your chorus is like the bee's knees, great. Okay, you've got an awesome chorus. Now, downgrade that chorus to a verse and you've got to top that and take the energy even higher. And I think, honestly, that's an incredible place for growth, like as a songwriter, that you can go, okay, here's the best thing I naturally did. Like the chorus just flows out of you, right? Now to go back and craft it and go, okay, now I'm going to top this. Oh.
I think that's one of the best tips I've ever heard.
Thank
you. I never even thought
Jim
of that.
Peter.
Yeah, thank you very much. I never even thought of that.
Stand-up comedians do it all the time. They take their best joke and they start with it, and that way they have to make all their other material be able to follow their best joke. And I think we just take that lesson and we put it into songwriting, and Bob's your uncle, we're rocking and rolling.
That's awesome.
So, Kit, you've released 3 singles so far as a professional recording artist. And a lot of times on this show, we have artists on who've released albums, they're decades into their career. And that period of time when you're working from being just a musician, just sort of like making music in your bedroom or wherever, to getting to your first single, that period of time can get a little hazy, and I think it's very easy to forget how much work goes into getting from the, the shower or in front of the mirror in the bedroom with the hairbrush to actually having music out there with your name on it, with obviously incredible producer Morgan Matthews. Shout out to Morgan. And can you talk a little bit about your experience and how you've gone from a musician who's making music for fun or because it feels good to being a published recording artist?
It was like the longest journey of my life, and it's still, a long journey to go on. And I realized from a young age that music was something that I wanted to do not only for fun, but as a career. So that was a plus. I did professional competitions like Canada's Got Talent, YTV's The Next Star, just radio station competitions. Loved it. When I was on the stage, I felt like I was a different person. So I was like, I got to figure out a way to do this. So when I was about 21, I started writing music, and I was trying to find beats online. And I was like, where am I gonna, I looked through so many channels, and I just couldn't find something that I vibed with. And then I actually found Morgan's channel. Morgan Likes Music on YouTube. And I was blown away by the types of beats that he was creating. And they vibed really well with me. And actually, we reworked Gold. And that was actually the first song that I ever wrote. Yeah, I wrote that thing in about 15 minutes when I was 21. I actually don't think I changed much of the original draft, and I kind of wanted to keep it that way because it was the first thing I wrote. And then I kind of leased the beat and put it out under a different stage name back in the day. And it wasn't really vibing well. I didn't really know how anything worked. I was confused. And then it kind of just evolved. Morgan was doing his own thing. I was doing my own thing here in Edmonton. I live in Canada. Eventually, I want to go visit the States. I think it would be awesome. But then I started making some music with some people here in Edmonton. And then also me and Morgan linked up as well. So it's been a long process, and everything's taken a long time, for sure.
For listeners of the podcast, if you want to understand more about what Kit means by leasing beats and the different ways you can buy beats and buy tracks, I suggest going to check out our episode with Servan Campbell where we unpack that fully. But moving on and getting a little bit more in depth of what you're talking about, I think this is very interesting. So you're looking at these different beats. You come across Morgan's channel. Obviously, Morgan, he's got a very special vibe with his productions. It's really musical. It's really tasteful, but at the same time leaves space for you to paint with your vocals. It's there to support. It's not overwhelming the vocals. So how do you get in touch with Morgan? Do you hear the track on YouTube? You go, okay, I'd like to lease this, and then you get in touch with him and Addictive Music Group?
Yeah,
okay,
well, so this is actually like in 2015 when I actually started talking with Morgan. He honestly at the time was just making beats on YouTube. So I was like, hey, and I was really leery. I didn't know how anything worked. So he actually had his Facebook linked, and I connected with him through Facebook, and we've been in communication ever since. Yeah, and when he was really, really busy doing his stuff with Alicia Keys and what have you at the start of when everything kind of popped off, I was just like, I was so proud for one, because it's so nice seeing someone that works so hard be able to get far, right? And, I never interjected. I was just simply proud. And one day we were just talking, and he was like, I can help you, because I was doing some stuff here in Edmonton. I made Venom with a girl named JD Hunt, and we re-released it through AMG. And I just didn't have the resources or any. I was like, I'm trying so hard, and I'm putting so much money into this, and it's just not going anywhere. So he was amazing and said he would help me out. And, we worked everything out, and then we have Gold, and we have a few other songs we're working on, and I'm working on an EP now. And yeah, I should be, I'm planning to have something bigger out by my birthday. So by middle of February, I'm hoping. Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, speaking of important dates, it is incumbent on me to wish you Happy Canadian New Year because the Canadian New Year is in September. I don't know if you know that, but Crystal McGrath and Crystal McGrath says that the New Year's in September, and we had some other guests from Canada who also said that Canadian New Year was in September. So Happy Canadian New Year. So working with Morgan, you're looking to the future. You've been on a bunch of different competitions. Like you said, you did Canada's Got Talent. You did some Rising Star stuff. You did some radio competitions. Let's talk a little bit about what goes into making the magic happen for you on an art level. Because all of the inputs in your life, especially as a vocalist and a singer, have big impacts on how your voice performs. If you're super stressed out on some day, you might lose 2 notes at the top and the bottom of your range, whereas if you're stressed out and playing a guitar, all the notes are still going to be there. They're not going anywhere. Also, if you don't sleep as well the night before on guitar, you're still going to have all the notes on the guitar, whereas if you don't sleep as well the night before on voice, quite simply, some of those notes will disappear. You might not have the same resonance. All sorts of things can just feel off. So you're sort of like a musical athlete in the sense that the voice has to really be taken care of and trained. And yeah. So what's the number of hours of sleep that you need to get where below that threshold you see an impact on your performance or creativity?
I would say about 6 to 8, the normal time. I like to get my sleep. I like to be fully rested. I feel like I sound less groggy, less, out of it kind of, I guess. I just like to be fully focused. So the more sleep I can get, the better I feel. I also work a full-time job as well. So a lot of times if I'm performing on like a Friday or a Saturday, I'm already working like an 8 to 10 to 12 hour shift, depending on the day.
And talking all day.
And talking all day, yeah. I work customer service at an automotive shop. Sorry. So it's quite chaotic and busy. I try to drink a lot of water always. Some people say, oh, just do it a couple of weeks before you're performing, you'll be fine. No. I just try to stay hydrated always. I feel like that's such an important part. I also sometimes use vocal spray if I feel like it's really bad. There's some stuff you can get from like Long and McQuaid here, like a music shop, or like there's this stuff called Ninjom. It's
Have you ever tried Vocal Ease?
Ooh, no, what's that?
Oh, check out Vocal Ease. They use like marshmallow root and manuka honey and things like that. Have you ever tried marshmallow root for the voice?
No, I'm gonna add that to my list of things.
You can put it in tea. You can get it in like Vocal Ease spray and things like that. I put it in tea all the time because what it does is it gets you this beautiful, especially if your voice is feeling a little worn out, it gives you this coating on your throat that sort of like mimics when you're really hydrated. Wow. It's marshmallow root. It's incredible. By the way, I am not a doctor and this does not constitute medical advice.
Yes, same.
Have you ever used mindfulness or meditation to impact your creativity or performance?
Yes, I am such a big fan of meditation. I meditate every single day, usually in the morning and usually at night. I also did the Alicia Keys meditation on Chopra. That was pretty fun. It was actually a divine
We are now
feminine,
2 for 2.
Yeah.
We are now 2 for 2 for female Canadian artists who've come on this podcast and have done the Alicia Keys meditation.
Really?
With Deepak Chopra. I'm loving this. The Canadian connections continue. This is amazing.
Everything's connected. That's what I've been learning.
So for meditation connoisseurs, what style of meditation do you do?
I usually meditate with some incense. I just usually put something on YouTube. I use a couple of channels that do like guided meditations. I like those as well, or just some like binaural beats and just meditate and have a good time. I also have I'm very spiritual, so I have things like, it's actually right here, like a singing bowl that I'll do before I so I'll like do stuff like that. I just find it very calming and relaxing, and it keeps me very grounded, especially for someone that's highly emotional. Definitely helps.
They've done scientific studies on singing bowl therapy, And while they can't scientifically diagnose whether it's the actual singing bowl, they know for a fact that when you're taking that moment to sit and be grounded and listen to the sound, that you can experience up to, I believe I'm correct on this, a 70% reduction in pain symptoms.
Wow.
Yes. And so it's not always about, like, you could use a tuning fork or you could use a drone or something, but it's about taking that moment to relax and engage with sound. There's actual white papers out there that it has a huge impact on us. So what impact do you see in your performance and creativity from the meditation?
I definitely feel like I'm more confident, I'm more with it, and I just feel like it flows easier when I try to write stuff, especially if I'm more in a better headspace and my mind's not so cluttered. I feel like it helps, tone it down and let me be more in the moment as opposed to worrying about, what's going on after I'm done writing, or, the future. How am I going to get my next, how is this going to happen? Or is, like there's just so much to focus on that I would rather just be able to focus on what I'm doing at the moment instead of worrying about the future. And meditation helps me with that because I feel like that used to be one of my biggest issues.
So on a day that you don't meditate and you're trying to write a song, it's not going to be as smooth. You're not going to feel the flow. You're not going to feel the inspiration as clearly. It's going to be more cluttered, and you can still do it, but it's not going to feel the same. Is that correct?
9 times out of 10, yes, except if I have something called borderline personality disorder, and it affects like emotionality and stuff like that. And sometimes it can be good to let it all out. I actually wrote a song on the day before I got fired because I kind of knew I was going to get fired from a job because of my emotionality. It's a real issue for people that struggle with this disorder, unfortunately. So I wrote that in pure emotion, and I think it was better because of it. But if I'm trying to like pull on stuff from the past or like think about like something more positive, I feel like it's better to have that more meditative state. It really depends on the situation, I guess, or what the song is about.
I find it fascinating. I use my ADHD in a similar way. Sometimes it's a detriment, but sometimes it's such a weapon and it's so useful that you can get a hyper focus and you can get so much work done in like 4 hours. So I think whenever we have these atypical neural experiences, there's always an interesting balance of navigating how you position it to take advantage of your experience, right?
For sure.
Now, do you exercise? And if so, how do you find that exercise impacts creativity and performance?
I usually, when it's nicer out, like for summer months, I will go walking around the block and stuff like that. I also do yoga in the mornings as well. So that is very helpful. And I feel like just makes me feel better, makes my posture a bit better. I feel ever since I started doing stuff like that, I feel way better, less lethargic during the day.
And how does that impact your creativity and your performance?
I feel like it enables me to be able to stay up long enough and feel more like awake long enough to be able to do that kind of stuff when I get home. Don't get me wrong, if it's kind of like not that busy, I will actually sit there and write with like a sticky note, like lyrics that I'm thinking of throughout the day.
Oh, sure.
Or in like a notebook. But like I try to do the bulk of it when I'm at home. I'll usually, if Morgan throws on a beat, I'll just like go on his channel and look for what else is new and, write to that. So yeah.
How do you define yourself? And when I say how do you define yourself, this is about how you think of yourself. Do you think of yourself as a musician, a human who makes music, or something else?
This is going to sound really like clouded up on my part. But in terms of music, I definitely view myself as chaotically brilliant sometimes. Like it's chaos, but it freaks me out. Like sometimes when I write something that's like a course, I don't expect to actually have written something like that, if that makes sense. Like, I trip my own self out on how creative I can be sometimes. The only thing is I just wish I had more time to be able to do it on a regular basis and not just on my off days now. Working like over like 100 hours a week some weeks, and then doing music on top of that is so exhausting, but it's so worth it.
Yeah, and I think that's also an interesting thing to look at in terms of where you are at in your career, which is where a lot of people are in their career, where you've put the work and you've put the time in, you're starting to release music, but it's not yet at the place where you can like not work it. Like you have to work because you need to eat, you need somewhere to stay. You also need to fund your musical pursuits. So I think it's a very interesting balancing act. But to get back to my question, I think what we're looking at more, Kit, is how you think of yourself. Like, for example, if you asked me 10 years ago, I would tell you I am a musician. Like, there's no like, I eat, sleep, and breathe music. I'm practicing between 6 and 12 hours a day. Like, I am a musician. I'm literally doing metronome exercises while I'm cooking with the like obsessive to a degree where it's like my entire personality was a musician. Now, if you ask me, I'll tell you I'm a human because I'm a human being. I have relationships. I have things I do in my life. I enjoy my life, and music is one of the things I do in my life. So I would say now I'm a human who plays music. For you, which do you think it is? At this point in time?
At this point in time, I think a couple months ago when I was kind of off work for a bit, I would say my life completely belonged to music. There's pretty much nothing else. Now, unfortunately, I'd say I'm more like a human that's just trying to be able to scrape by in order to do what she loves for the rest of her life. I've never really done well with generic like not generic jobs, but like jobs that require you to be stable or not to be creative or emotional during the day. Yeah. I can't really take it. It never really works out. It never really bodes in my favor. So I'm just trying to be someone trying to grasp her emotions and be able to hone that in on the proper ways to be able to get myself to my end goal.
Yeah, and fortunately, music, it is to your advantage to be very emotional in music. And all the different emotions all have different roles to play in music and can result in different music being made. So one more question around lifestyle, and it is, how do you define success in your career? Do you have short-term goals, long-term goals? Do you set ahead of yourself for metrics? Like you say, all right, listen, if 100 people listen to this song, I'm going to be happy. How do you define success in your career?
Well, just in general, I think success to me when I'm successful and fully successful would be me being able to do what I love for a living every day and being able to help people out at the same time.
Help people out how?
I actually want to curate something of a focus group for people with my disorder, like have like a peer support group or something like that. It's very hard for people with BPD to get the proper type of therapy, which is called dialectical behavioral therapy. And not a lot of people actually officiate this kind of therapy for people. So it's like long wait times in the States. It's very expensive. In Canada, it's just long wait times or budget cuts. They don't exist. So you got to do privatized and you got to pay too. And it's just a lot of, people can't afford it. And it's hard for people to get in and the wait time. So I want to have something in between to help people out. And even though there might be wait times for that, I want to like take like a couple months off and like individually like talk like we're talking now to like the people that didn't make it through to that focus group. And like, you know, I just want to be supportive and I want to be an artist that cares. And I mean, fans are what make people who they are, right? So why not try and help them as much as you can? And I know that especially in the younger generation, BPD, especially for the women, is getting kind of bad. And I think people have to pay more attention to it because it has a general life expectancy of 27. So yeah, that's how chaotic and how hard it can be sometimes. So if I can help out a little bit, or even like help fund some of these people to go to therapy one day, that's like my ultimate goal. And I want to do that through something that I love, which is music, and I'm good at it. And I've always been not very confident in most other things. So yeah, like I'm going to be confident in this, and that's success.
Well, after this podcast, hang out for a minute. I want to connect you with Ace Piva from Over the Bridge. It's a Canadian group working for mental health for people in the music industry.
I would love that.
Yeah, I think that would be a great connection for you. And we'll also get you and Addictive Music Group synced up with the Fame Hackers, because I think there's a lot that could be done here with your mission.
Thank you.
Okay, so do you have a time or times of day? Not that you can, because we know you're working about 100 hours a week, but if you had your choice, what time of day would you practice? Like when you had time off, what was your practice schedule?
I would pretty much do music all day. Like I try to do it in the morning. I'll try and like put on a beat while I'm getting ready, making coffee, try and write a song, and then I'll work on it all day.
Let me be more specific. So when I'm talking about practice, it's not the songwriting, but we can absolutely say that writing songs is practice of writing songs, obviously. I'm talking more about the singing. Like what time of day would you want to do your warm-ups? Would you want to get loosey-goosey, throw on a couple scales, do some arpeggios? When does that time of day come for you?
Usually when I'm most awake, probably in like the afternoon. After I kind of just, get up, do my thing. Usually midday afternoon is when I'll do a lot of practices. When I was off work for a little bit, I would actually do scales every morning when I woke up, and some like little vocal warm-ups and stuff like that. It just felt really good to start my day off right and just on the right track. But usually I'll try and like do something small in my car now on my breaks. And then if not, when I get home, I usually trying to do something every day. Just to vocally. Yeah. Just to kind of keep it fresh. And I mean, before COVID, I was going to karaoke often, practicing cover songs for when I do live shows, stuff like that.
How many hours a day do you practice now? So this is, and for our listeners, keep in mind, this is balancing between 60 and 100 hours of work a week. So obviously it's not like you got your entire morning to practice. So right now, about how many hours a day? And it's fine if it's minutes.
Usually like about a half an hour to an hour when I get home, generally. If I'm like settling down on a day off to like do something, perform, because we still do have live shows if people are vaccinated, stuff like that here in Alberta. And I'll just try and do like an extra hour or so before I try and do something like record a song, because I do have a recording studio in my house that I usually use now. For Venom and Poison, I use JD Hunts, which was the girl who helped me out with that here in Edmonton. We used her microphone in her studio, and I actually ended up buying the same microphone because I loved it.
Which microphone?
It is the Warm Audio. I think it's 47 Junior or something like that.
Interesting. Yeah. I haven't heard of it before. I'll check it out.
Warm Audio is awesome. They make a lot of dupes for more expensive microphones.
They make a lot of what?
Dupes.
Oh, yeah. Dupes. See, I'm a little older than I look, so you got to explain.
See, I know that because of like makeup. Back in the day, they would call them dupes. If something was like the same thing, they would be like, oh, that's a dupe for that like Mac thing. And I'm like, oh, that's the same thing. Okay.
Got it.
Yeah.
When you practice now, when you're doing sort of technique stuff, so not warm-ups, but when you're doing scales, you're doing arpeggios, you're working, you're trying to work on fundamentals. What's the maximum length of time for an effective technique practice session for you?
I would say probably 30 minutes to an hour at least.
What happens if you go past the hour?
I mean, if I stay hydrated and make sure everything's fine, I can usually go to about 2 hours of straight practice, but that's about as much as I can get. And that's in between doing that and then trying to practice the songs and perfect them. So like I'll usually take like a Lana Del Rey song or like something that I really, really love and that I want to have perfect. and then perfect it. And then the next day I'll do one of my own songs and I'll incorporate that in if I'm doing a longer session.
So I think what's interesting here, Kit, is you're describing limiting your practice time not based off of a cognitive decision in terms of your ability to maintain focus. Like for me, I'll always limit my practice sessions because my ADHD will drive me nuts. Like I'm sitting there for like, I get a half hour, then I need a break, then I can come back for half an hour. But what you're describing is that you're actually cutting it off in favor of two things. Number one, vocal maintenance, so not overusing the voice. Plus, for any vocalists out there, if you're practicing, 2 hours a day is about the maximum that you should be practicing, because you also need to use your voice for talking and all sorts of things.
You're constantly using it, yeah.
Absolutely. But then on top of that, you're also trying to carve out time where not only are you transcribing other people's songs, but you're also working on your own songs, getting ready to record songs, practicing your own songs. So when you practice the most in your life, how many hours a day do you think you practiced?
I think that was probably when I was younger, and I was like taking like singing lessons in like I didn't take it for very long, but I remember this one lady had me in like a 2.5 hour session because she wanted the song to be perfect. It was for like a little festival thing. And I remember that was like my third vocal lesson, and then I stopped taking vocal lessons until my 20s.
Because it was 2.5 hours long.
Yeah, and then I started taking it again when I was in my 20s. So, my producer in Edmonton, JD, her wife actually is the one that helps me with vocal coaching here in Edmonton.
Oh, that's awesome.
So it's pretty nice to have that help and support. I'm still just trying to get more fresh into it and like learning more and more. I'm trying to expand my vocal range, which is very hard when you have such a low voice for a female. So.
Well, yeah, and I mean, there's also physiologically, if you want to talk about pure voice registers, there's only going to be so far you can push it before you have to start mixing other vocal registers, right?
Definitely.
So, like, you can take your chest voice up so far, and then you have to start doing a mixed voice where you bring in the head voice with the chest voice, and then you can sometimes get a little bit of a texture change in there. But I will not. I know you know this. I'm just explaining this for
for sure,
for our listeners.
Yeah, I understand. I'm never probably going to be an Ariana Grande, but
Yeah, but we don't.
No.
Listen, we already have an Ariana Grande. We don't need another Ariana Grande. We need a Kit, and Kit's got to do Kit's thing. And if someone tries to copy Kit, we're going to go, hey, listen, we already have a Kit. Everyone's just got to do their thing.
I mean, sometimes people are skeptical with me doing something that's a little bit different, because I will admit my music ain't like everyone else's. It's different. It's like more like free verse poetry. Like it's very different from like the generic structures.
Yes.
So I like it, and it's very weird doing something different, but I realize that that's what an artist is they stick to what they vibe with what they do, and there's still going to be people that are going to support you.
Yeah, absolutely.
People like different.
Yes, people do.
I'm learning that, so.
How do you like to divide your practice time? So let's say you come home, you're going to do half an hour of like warm-ups and technique. And then what are you going to do with the rest of your time? So let's say you have a song that you're working on, you're getting ready to go into the studio. Are you then going to spend time doing the transcription from other artists, or are you just going to focus on prepping that song for the studio?
It depends on what I'm doing. If I really don't have anything on the go at the moment, I'll just like practice one of the songs that I do for my set list. But if I'm practicing to go into my room here and record, then I will definitely try and run that over a few times. I'll even actually plug in the microphone and the earphones, and I will do it through there without recording it a few times, just so I can hear the quality and the sound and what it's going to sound like. I generally don't like a lot of editing on vocals, so I try and be as spot on for how I want it to sound. So that's kind of the end goal, is trying to make it sound exactly like I wanted.
And when you're trying to avoid the editing, are you more trying to avoid quantizing the vocals, or the sort of melodyning, auto-tuning of the vocals for pitch, or both?
I just want it to sound as authentically as it's going to sound when I do it live, like I love when I see artists and I hear their song, like Lana Del Rey, like you can hear her And then you see her live and she still sounds fabulous. And it sounds, sometimes just about identical. And I love that because you know that person, it is actually what they're giving out to you is what they're also going to produce when you see them live. And I love that. So the best I can make myself sound on the actual recording of it, the better I prefer. Yeah. I just prefer it that way.
Kit, let's say you have $2 billion with a B, $2 billion in a bank account.
Okay.
You've already paid taxes on it. It's your money. Are you still going to practice?
Always. Always. You want to get better, right? I mean, it's the same. Like, I would still live my lifestyle by trying to get a lot of sleep. I would still try to work out. I would still try and, do all those things. I mean, I'd probably be able to get something like a fitness coach or something. But yeah, I would definitely keep practicing because I still want to perfect my craft and keep getting better at it. And growing up in a small town, I didn't really have a lot of opportunities to get a lot of, lessons or have people that were really into it then. So I have a little bit of growing to do, but I kind of like it because, no one said that it had to be perfect, but I want to get a little bit better so I can do, more higher, more complex things eventually in the future.
Now, let's talk about this for a second, because I think we should unpack this between us and also for the listeners. So, there's been this trend in the past, what year are we now? 2020?
2021.
Past 40, 2021, yeah, thanks. Shows you how much attention I'm paying. That for the past 40 years, 45 years, there's been this trend, especially in popular music, of people wanting to sing higher. We can look before that. We can look at artists like Nina Simone, Frank Sinatra, Neil Diamond. A lot of these artists who were singing low. So Neil Diamond, Frank Sinatra, baritones, and Nina Simone, I mean, if she's not an alto, I don't know what is. She sings lower than some men can sing. She sings lower than some tenors. So there's been this push in popular music for everyone to sing higher. And even the way the tracks, the instrumentals are produced, oftentimes are made in such a way that it leaves space for someone to sing high notes over it for it to stick out. And then also there's simply the physics of singing higher notes is that they sound sharper and you can hear the vocals stand out more just from a physics perspective when you sing higher notes. So there is, especially among altos, a conversation of I need to sing higher, I need to sing higher, I need to sing higher. And I don't think that's the thing, man. I really don't. There's always going to be an Ariana Grande. There's always going to be a Mariah Carey who can sing up and do those whistle tones and all that crazy acrobatic stuff. And I really, it's that's just one way of doing it. And I really think to say this to you, but also to all the lower voice females out there who are going to sing, it's okay.
Thank you.
It's okay to be an alto. Altos don't need to be, mezzo-sopranos. Mezzo-sopranos don't need to be sopranos. And sopranos don't need to be, what's the name when they're super high? I forget the name of the altissimo soprano where they sing crazy high.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah,
you know
I
what I'm talking about. Anyway, all my music friends will tell me after this. Anyway, so there's always this idea, and it's because of our pop culture that we all need to be singing higher. And altos, generally the vocal range might be something like an F3, F4, no, F3 to F5.
That sounds
maybe.
about accurate, yeah.
Yeah, F3 to F5 for altos. For sopranos or mezzo-sopranos, maybe A3 to A5. And then for sopranos, about the same. Most women can generally sing to an A3 or a B flat 3, and then sing higher than that. And you don't have to sing high. like modern music production, just drag those little things down, just lower the key. Lower the key for your voice. Literally. Altos, please stop trying to sing higher than your voice is. Your voice sounds beautiful where it is. Just bring the key down just a little bit and just sit in that sweet spot. Because look, if you're forcing your voice over the course of your entire career, the probability you're going to have voice problems, voice nodules, you're going to develop bad habits from straining are so likely. Lower the key. You know, there should be no more key wars. Key wars are over. They are abolished. They are gone.
Oh no, go ahead.
Okay, I can pause my tirade there. Kit, do you have anything to say to that?
I think our retort is that I think it's just we get so much pressure from society to go higher, right? Like that's the big thing is that I always get asked, like, you're not pushing to your highest ability. You can go higher. You can go higher. And I'm like, but this is where I'm comfortable at. And if I went any higher, I wouldn't be able to emote like I do the way that I do. Right? And that's what people don't understand. But the people that get it. You know what I mean? They know. They're like, when I listen to you, I feel like I'm listening to my brain. And like, you know, like they're like, it makes me feel something, and that's why I like your music, and that's why I like what you do. But yeah, I get a lot of pressure for that, so I think that's why, like, in the back of my brain, I'm like, I gotta go higher.
No, we've got, listen, if anything, the movement starts today. Altos unite, mezzo sopranos and sopranos join the club too. Tenors, baritones, basses join it. All singers,
all welcome.
Listen, all welcome. All are welcome. Let's all just sing in a range that's comfortable. It's going to save everyone so much time. It's going to save everyone so much effort. Just sing in keys that are good for your voice. Stop trying to be the three people we hear on the radio who are naturally gifted, incredible singers who have ridiculous ranges. It's like, listen, I can go for a run. I'm not going to be Usain Bolt. It doesn't matter how much I train. Listen, I could train 8 hours a day. I am not going to beat Usain Bolt in a foot race. It's not going to happen. So, like, I'm not going to try and be Adam Levine. He has been gifted with a way of placing his voice and just the natural pipes, the physiology of it. Yes, music teachers, yes, there is technique. Yes, we can still achieve this. But I think my point still stands that, you know, this paradigm that we hear on the radio over and over, it's like standards for beauty. It's beauty standards for vocalists. It's like you've got 10 models out there who just have this idealized figure that we've all sort of culturally agreed on is our idealized figure. And then we go, okay, yeah, all models should look like that. And we're doing the same thing for vocalists. We're saying, okay, you know, men, we want you to be singing up with The Weeknd. We want you to be singing up with Adam Levine. And it's like, not all guys can do that. And those guys sometimes have trouble doing that when they do it live.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I've heard it.
Let's speak plainly. We're all singing too high. We today, the movement starts today. Join us now on reasonable vocal, #reasonable vocal ranges for all. We're doing it. Everyone visit reasonableVocalRanges.com. It's happening. Kit is your leader. Let's go.
I completely agree with that because I love it. Like, I love the range that I do, and I personally don't see anything wrong with doing lower. I mean, people still listen to that, like the lower range music today. Like it's not like it's a thing of the past. I think it's just everyone just
Billie Eilish.
Oh, I know. She's
singing in those lower ranges.
Such a big fan. And I love that I also live in a time where the type of stuff that I do, which is like, you know, like I like the writing style of Billie, Lana, like all those girls, Amy. It's no longer just, it doesn't have to be also happy girl all the time, you know? Like, you can be more realistic. You don't have to be a Barbie, you know, that does like so poppy songs about like everything is sunshine and rainbows when we all know that, you know, life isn't like that. So like you're allowed to dig deeper with music. So stuff like that helps. And I feel like if I did that in a high range or something that was not my range, it would just sound off and not right. So yeah. I like that hashtag. Get that trending on Twitter.
Let's do it. It's starting today. Do you take any steps to stay creative or to protect your creative space?
Yeah. I always make sure that like I said, meditation helps me stay creative. I like to have my own little safe haven, which is my little den for doing my creative process, most likely. I just try and, keep to myself when I'm being super creative. I'll turn off my phone, stuff like that.
A quick shout out to Rich Chambers, who is the guest I could not forget, who also celebrates the Canadian New Year in September.
See, that's my work New Year, technically. Like, if you think
Listen,
about it, like, I don't know if they do that
I'm
in the
telling
States, but like, technically, like, it's not actually a New Year, but it's how we like classify our new years for like work, right?
It's the Canadian New Year.
I
I'm
love
telling
that.
you.
I'm going to tell my friends that. They're going to love that.
Do you have a time or times of day where you feel more creative?
Night. It's really weird. Like, I'll wake up sometimes at like 3 a.m. because I thought of song lyrics, and I'll literally sit there and I'll just stay up till like 4 and then be like, oh.
Okay, hang on. You're waking up because you dreamt the song.
Oh yeah.
lyrics?
Oh yeah. If I'm like thinking of something or like have someone in mind, or I'll like,
No, so
and it will
okay,
bother me.
I'm
So
sorry.
I have to wake up and actually deal with this, because if I don't write it down, it'll be gone.
Okay, but hold on. You are asleep in bed, and the inspiration is coming to you while you are asleep, at which point you realize while you are asleep that you've had the download of the lyrics or the inspiration of the lyrics, at which point you wake yourself up from sleep to write the lyrics down. Have I got
Yes,
that
I've
right?
done that quite frequently. Yeah.
That's wild. That's so. Jim Peterick also talks about he hears musical ideas in his sleep, and then it's always a question of, well, do I want to stay asleep or do I want to try and wake myself up to get
every
it down?
time I'm like, oh, I'm so tired, but I'm like, this is really cool. I'm like, if I don't write this down, I might not remember it in the morning. Let's just get up now. And I've literally been up for like a few hours after that, just trying, because I'm like so in the mood. Like, I'm so hyper focused. It's really weird. I thought that was just like, I don't know. Yeah.
No, that does not happen to everyone. I'll get ideas right as I'm falling asleep, but very rarely am I awake enough that when I'm dreaming and hearing some fantastic musical thing that my brain is dreaming up, that I can wake myself, and then very rarely do I remember it. So, have you ever experienced burnout from too much time spent specifically on music?
Oh, yeah. I think my first burnout was when I was filming my music video for Venom. I was working another job, just same as Mel, like 60, 100 hours a week. It was ridiculous. And I was filming Venom on my days off, and those were like 12 to 13 hour like filming days. And actually JD and her wife, like, they did the videography for it, because like we didn't really have a budget, but they worked for like a production company here in Edmonton called Catalyst Productions, and they were able to use the equipment, and they literally sat there and like we filmed the whole thing and came up with the idea. And yeah, I was so exhausted. It was just a lot, because you're like singing and acting and like, being in makeup and hair, and it was just the first time I realized, I'm like, this is going to be the most exhausting career I've ever had in my life. Like, even more exhausted than that 60 to 100 hours, because it really doesn't stop. Because after you're done filming, then you have to edit it, and I would be there for I might not have helped as much with the editing, but I was there. Like, the whole point is to be there, even if you're not capable of doing it, to be there to experience it. I like being there for the whole process, but yeah, I got burnt out a lot during the shooting of Venom. And
So how long did the burnout last for, and what did you do to recover?
a lot of sleep. It took like a, oh, bless you.
That may be the first sneeze we've ever had on the podcast.
Bless
so
you, hashtag
just-
first.
For longtime listeners, congratulations. That was the first Dan sneeze. I'm sorry.
It's
please
all
continue.
good. I'm just glad I didn't sneeze after too. Like, it wasn't contagious. Like when
Listen,
someone yawns and then you yawn too. I've heard that for sneezes.
Oh, yeah. Oh, well, yawning when someone else yawns is great, because that means you have empathy and you're not a psychopath.
Oh, really?
Truly. according to my girlfriend, who's significantly smarter than I am and is also a school psychologist.
That's cool. That's a nice career.
Well, I don't know.
Seems stressful, but I mean, it's good to help out people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we were talking about what you did to recover from burnout when we got sidetracked by
a
sneezes.
lot of sleep, a lot of rest. I'll actually take like a few days off from even like turn away from social media, just kind of music, just take a break, watch like a Netflix show, recuperate, do something that's not so taxing on myself to just kind of rejuvenate myself. If I have a face mask, I'll like put a face mask on, do a little spa day, feel a little bit better.
Self-care. Yeah. When you write songs, how do you experience it? Do you experience it as a download? Do you experience it as an upwelling? What is your feeling and what is your interpretation of how it feels to be inspired to write a song?
I'll listen to a beat for like 5 seconds and I'll be like, okay, I like this. And then I'll let it play. And then I will randomly blurt out stuff because I usually have an idea of what I would want to write about when I hear it or see the title. That's why I really like Morgan's beats, because he always has titles to the ones that he would post. So I would usually go off of the title and I'm like, what could I do that would relate to this title? Or like the general vibe. So I'll just start singing randomly. And if it's really good, then I'll write it down. And then I'll like comprise all the good things that I've written down. And I'll like go through it until, okay, I got a verse. Okay, I got a chorus. Okay, I got another verse. Okay, let's do this. Like, that's kind of how I'll go through it. And then I'll sit there and I'll make it the way, craft the words a little bit better. Sometimes I leave it as is if I feel like it's truly emotional and from something that just comes out. But yeah, that's generally how I do it.
Which typically comes first? The lyrics, the melody?
Melody. I always have a melody.
Do you prefer to write after listening to other music for inspiration or from a clean slate?
Clean slate. If I have something else in my head, I'm going to end up writing something that sounds too similar. Or if I have something like super in my head, I find it so hard to write. If the beat and like, if I find like a pattern that could be similar, I'm like, okay, that sounds way too much like Billy or like Halsey or like something else. Like I need to like take a little bit of a step down. So I feel like sometimes I'm also very like, I'm like, I don't want to rip anyone off by accident, because there's so many like melody lines and, even lyrics that people don't even realize, because there's so much out there. There's just so much out there. So I just try to like super focus on what's right in front of me. And like, this is the best melody line for this.
Has performance anxiety ever threatened to impact or impacted your performance?
Ooh, this actually just recently happened. Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Lately I've been having a little bit of anxiety while performing. Mostly with covers. The covers trip me up. When I do covers, sometimes I'll forget the lyrics, or I'll do like the second verse instead of like the first one lately. I don't know what's up with that. I've been just trying to practice super, super hard on my downtime to kind of get over it. I think it's because like I choked once on my performance when I was doing a competition, and I never did it after that. Like I never messed up again. And then all of a sudden I did like a few shows ago, and I've just been like really like tripped up about it. And I'm like, no. So I've been trying to meditate more and just try to get out of that state. I think I'm ready for the next show for sure. But yeah, that was like an isolated incident that turned into another incident. But I was good for the one I did last. So yeah, sometimes it gets to me.
The mistake you made, was that because you were the first mistake you made? We'll unpack mistake one, mistake two. So mistake one, was that because you were in the moment feeling anxious and self-conscious, and so your brain just sort of like locked up and you couldn't think of what to do next?
I think more so of the fact that I was working a lot. I had a family in the hospital, not doing well. It was just like a lot going on that one day. Like I was working like a 12-hour shift and then that and that. So I think it was just like a lot of environmental factors for the most part. And I did find my bearings. I mean, everyone, I like to make light of when I get anxiety and mess up. I think it's funny, especially if it's a cover, or something like that. For that, I was like, you know what can I say that's quick-witted, that is kind of cute and quirky? And I was like, when I do this song on karaoke, I never realized that I guess I look at the lyrics more than I thought. So I always try to make something funny out of it. It doesn't really happen often, but that's kind of what I do when I'm recording, and I like if I goof up or something. So I was like, why could that not be applicable to, if I like had a moment where I was a little off.
So mistake number 2 with the cover song was that ultimately, could we diagnose that down to lack of preparation, that you didn't know the lyrics well enough?
Probably, more than likely, yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
I'm like, I think I know it more, and then
Oh,
I'm like, oh wait, maybe I don't want to mess this up. It's like I think I was just
you don't want to
overthinking
over
it.
practice. Yeah.
I think I was overthinking
That's
it for sure. I usually try to let it flow, and that time was definitely overthinking.
Interesting.
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think there's a right answer.
sorry, my cat's just like, hey, what's up?
Oh, that's
Scratching
okay.
on the door.
So, Kit, that's actually my last question for you. Do you have anything that you'd like to talk about that we didn't talk about today?
I don't think so. Just that I've just been working on a lot of music, a lot of new music coming soon. I'm gonna be announcing a new song in October, as well. So I'm trying to do a song a month or a song every 2 months at least, up until I have enough for an EP. So
Sweet. So everyone, you can check out Kit's new song, Yours Truly. It's out now everywhere you get your music, and you can find Kit on Instagram at K_I_T official. Kit, thank you so much for coming on the show.
thank you very much for having me. Take care, guys.